1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black.
Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
A few stolen moments is all that we share. You've got your family and they need you there. Though I try to resist being last on your list, but no other man's gonna do. So I'm saving all my love for you. It's not very easy living all alone. My friends try and tell me find a man of my own, but each time I try, I just break down and cry, 'cause I'd rather be home feeling blue. So I'm saving all my love for you.
It's the best of Whitney Houston. All 3 hours of our program today. We continue our celebration of June as Black Music Month and choose a different artist every single day to play the best of their contributions. And the contributions musically of Whitney Houston are massive. I still haven't gotten over the loss of Whitney Houston, but what a catalog Whitney left us, and she sounds as good as ever. So Whitney is our artist in residence today. We're weaving in and out of these conversations with our guest today, playing some of the best of Whitney Houston as we celebrate June as Black Music Month. What a great first hour that was today. We thank again Senator Raphael Warnock for leading us off at the top of the first hour, and then we had a chance to unpack some of that dialogue and more with two of my contributors and friends and colleagues, Jesse Jackson Jr. And Nee Quarterly Corte. And now we're pushing to this hour. It's going to be just a great show all 3 hours today. All this brilliance. In our final hour, I should say, we're going to be joined by Leonard Pitts Jr., Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist, author, and director of the Center for Urban Journalism at Morgan State University. Always great times when Leonard Pitts Jr. shows up. Nobody turns a phrase quite like Leonard Pitts Jr., and that's why he's a Pulitzer Prize winner for his commentary all those years at the Miami Herald. But speaking of brilliance, in this hour, it's always fun to talk to Philly's own Tim Golden. I love talking to Tim in part because Tim is a professor, a philosopher, an author. I mean, all those things professionally, right? He has the degrees to back it up. Professor, philosopher, author, and an attorney and legal analyst. And he has a unique way of weaving all of that pedigree into the discourse. And so I'm delighted to have him on this program for the hour to talk about how it is that we keep faith and sanity in a peculiar American moment like this. Tim Golden, good to have you back, my friend. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Tavis Smiley. It's great to be with you today. Thank you so much.
It's good to have you on. Your audio is sounding a little off. Can you hear me? Can you hear me well? Yeah. Okay. Faraji and Odell, let's take him offline. Let's get this audio together. And we'll get Tim right back up in just a second here. That's not going to work. An hour talking to Tim, and you can't hear nothing that he has to say. That's not going to work. So let me get this audio thing straightened out right quick, and we'll get the conversation with Tim started. But I can tell you what the kind of things I want to cover in this hour with Tim while we get that fixed, and when we come forward, we'll jump straight away into our conversation with him. So I certainly want to talk about some of the things we discussed in our first hour, namely this bill. This big ugly bill, as Democrats are calling it. Donald Trump calls it a big beautiful bill. We talked about the politics of the bill and the way Republicans are moving to get this thing passed through the Senate. As I said earlier, it is shrinking by the day. But we see legislation being passed or an attempt to pass legislation every day that really is not just antithetical to the best interest of poor people and black people, but in some ways, Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he would do when he got elected. In other ways, he's already gone beyond the pale. When it comes to this notion of public policy, which is ultimately the job of the president, right? To get good policy, good public policy on the books, Donald Trump is woefully lacking in that regard. Number one. Number two, we're going to talk a bit with Tim in this hour about this Iranian situation and what Democrats do, if anything, to sort of reel him back in. I played a clip earlier of Donald Trump bragging about what happened in Iran, comparing it to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But there's a broader conversation. Again, we did the politics in the first hour. There's a broader philosophical conversation to be had about how we reel in a leader who's becoming more and more authoritarian by the day. There are no guardrails for Donald Trump. What does that mean to live in a nation where the president has outsized power? No guardrails to slow him down. No speed bumps. No guardrails to contain him, I should say. No speed bumps to slow him down. How are Democrats showing up in this moment? There's still all this conversation about the win by Mandami in New York City. But I said yesterday, it is New York City. I'm not so sure that playbook in New York works across the country. Although I'm empowered and enthused by this progressive win in New York, there are questions to be asked about how that strategy might play or not around the country for Democrats. And then just broadly speaking, this notion I said earlier of how we sort of keep our sanity. I was talking to my friend and brother Cornel West yesterday. Dr. West said, I said, Doc, how you doing? I said, Doc, how you doing? And he said to me, he said, well, brother, I'm just glad to have kept my sanity for another day. And we got a good laugh out of it. But I feel the same way. In a moment like this, how do we go about keeping faith? How do we go about just holding on to our sanity with all that is circling around us? And so, again, that's what I mentioned earlier about why I love talking to Tim. He's not just a professor, not just an author, not just an attorney, but a philosopher as well. So the conversations with Tim Golden are always pretty amazing. I look forward to it. I think we've got him on the phone now. We got this technical issue worked out. So when we come forward, you should be able to hear Tim Golden rather clearly. And I'm excited about that in the rest of this hour. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Get ready, just a few minutes more. Gonna get that old feeling when you walk through that door. 'Cause tonight is the night for feeling alright. We'll be making love the whole night through. So I'm saving all my love. Yes, I'm saving all my love. Yes, I'm saving all my love for you.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2025, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-259-4546. That's 800-259-4546. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-259-4546 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Remember when we held on in the rain, the nights we almost lost it. Once again, we can take the night into tomorrow, living on feelings, touching you, I feel it all again. Didn't we almost have it all? When love was all we had worth giving, the ride with you was worth the fall, my friend. Loving you makes life worth living. Didn't we almost have it all? The nights we held until the morning. You know you'll never love that way again. Didn't we almost have it all?
It's Whitney Houston, and we are playing the best of her catalog. All 3 hours of our program today as we continue our celebration of June as Black Music Month. Her voice and her contribution are undeniable. That voice. We all recall when that album first came out, and she dropped that first album, everybody's like, who is this Whitney Houston? And she answered that question for us, not just on the first album, but on every album thereafter. And so we are celebrating the rich musical legacy and grand contributions to the soundtrack of our lives. And we thank Whitney Houston. So again, we celebrate June as Black Music Month. All right, Tim Golden, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, Tavis Smiley. Can you hear me now?
That's the most important part. Yes, I can hear you now, and that's a good thing. So let's get this.
All right.
Let's get this party started for the hour. I think I want to start with this. It's been 48 hours now, and Democrats, progressives certainly, are still feeling a sense of euphoria. Progressives are about what Zohran Mamdani was able to do in New York City. There are questions 48 hours later about what it really means. And I want to just extend that conversation. But first, here's some sound from Zohran Mamdani.
Tonight, we made history. In the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it is done. My friends, we have done it. I will be your Democratic nominee for the mayor. Andrew Cuomo about the need to bring this city together, as he called me to concede the race.
There's a whole lot in that clip, Tim Golden. Let me just start with the obvious. You got a Democratic socialist, quoting a member of the ANC, Nelson Mandela. What do you make of that for starters? And we'll jump from there, sir.
Well, I think it is certainly a victory for progressives in New York City. I think progressives and specifically and Democrats generally need to be careful as a strategic matter and understand that the kind of politics that works in New York City might not necessarily work on a national level. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say that there's not cause for optimism for Democrats, because in some ways, when you look at the political dynamics of this race, it could be a blueprint for a national campaign in some ways, not necessarily ideologically, but for instance, if you look at the fact that there were lots of people in New York City who saw Cuomo as being backed by some of the same people who backed Trump. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of dynamic there, Democrats sort of being true to their principles. And, you know, if we're going to oppose Trump because he sexually assaulted women, then we have to oppose Cuomo for the allegations against him as well, right? So I think it is certainly a sign of optimism for Democrats, but I think Democrats and progressives generally have to understand that what worked in New York City might not work nationally. And I think if they can sort of parse that out and figure out what did work in New York, which was really a message of economic populism, mm-hmm. right? New York City is one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive city in the world to live. And what did Mamdani campaign on? He campaigned on rent freezes. He campaigned on lowering public transportation costs and catering to the needs of average everyday New Yorkers who are not billionaires and who need to rely on things like public transportation and affordable rent just to live. So I think if Democrats and progressives can tap into that vein and see what they can extrapolate out of that for a national campaign, it could be very fruitful.
Yeah. There are a number of things you said I want to sort of interrogate here for a second. Let me start with this though, and I don't think you meant to suggest this, and if you did, then mm-hmm. you can unpack it for me. But mm-hmm. I think there's a distinct difference between what Donald Trump was accused of, and frankly, not just accused of, but found guilty of in a New York courtrum, mm-hmm. than what Andrew mm-hmm. Cuomo was accused of. As a matter of fact, again, mm-hmm. This is not a defense of Andrew Cuomo. I don't need to do that. That's not my role or my job. But it is my mm-hmm. job to draw distinctions where I think they need to be drawn. There's no comparison, mm-hmm. Tim, to my mind, again, between what Cuomo was accused of and what Trump was not just accused of, but again, found guilty of, at least in one particular courtroom. And if Andrew Cuomo, in fact, had been accused of what Trump was accused of, he wouldn't have had any pathway back. He didn't, again, win the Democratic primary. He has not yet announced whether or not he'll stay in as an independent. But you weren't conflating those two things, were you? And if you were, tell me why.
No, I was not conflating those two things. But the way that you see it, or I see it as an analyst, is not the same way that a primary voter sees it when that primary voter in New York goes into the voting booth.
I receive that.
And here's what I mean.
Yeah.
Here's what I mean, right? So Trump was found liable. We know about the Access Hollywood tape. We know about all of the horrible things that Trump did that were adjudicated, right? Mm-hmm. So Trump has been adjudicated of sexual assault, adjudicated liable, right? Mm-hmm. In a way that Mario Cuomo was not.
Andrew Cuomo, you said Mario, you meant Andrew. I know what you meant.
I'm sorry, Mario. I'm sorry, Andrew. Yes, my apologies.
Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo. So I think those distinctions are good distinctions, mm-hmm. but I'm not sure that as a voter in New York City, that voters, and I'm not knocking the average everyday voter, but I don't think that level of nuance
Okay.
factors into their decision making.
Yeah.
I think the nuance is real, it's legitimate. I don't disagree with anything you said, but I also think that as a pragmatic matter, politically, most people don't delve into it in such a nuanced way. They kind of see him, and they see him in contrast to Mamdani, and they say, "Oh well, a vote for Cuomo." I mean, this is the conclusion that they draw. It may be a non sequitur, right? But the conclusion that they draw is, well, if I'm voting for Cuomo, I might as well be voting for Trump. Theoretically, it's not a good comparison for all the reasons you stated, but politically, I think most people tend to conflate those two things and just run with it.
Yep. See, I'm not so sure. I hear you, and Tim and I are usually simpatico in the way we see the world. I'm not so sure I buy that argument. And again, what I'm waiting on is the data. The data is incontrovertible whenever we get it. I'm not so sure that issue was front of mind for most of these voters. Again, I can't speak for them any more than you can. But I'm interested. I haven't seen as yet the exit polls, but I want to know why the folk who didn't vote for Cuomo didn't vote for him. And my sense is that while those allegations may have been on the list of things that they considered when deciding who they were going to vote for, I just think it's more fundamental than that. Mamdani represented a different vision. You laid it out earlier. Economic populism. He met voters where they were. His energy and campaigning, he was everywhere. And Andrew, in some ways, tried to run a coronation campaign. He didn't want to show up. He didn't want to debate, et cetera, et cetera. But I just think it kind of reminds me of Obama in that sense. It's just a different vision for the future. Bill Clinton, who endorsed Andrew Cuomo in the final days of this campaign, as you well know, Andrew Cuomo worked for Bill Clinton as his HUD secretary, so they go back a long way. So Clinton comes out and endorses Andrew Cuomo after Bernie Sanders came out and endorsed Mamdani. But Clinton famously said years ago, as you may recall, Tim, that every election is about the future. It seems simple enough, but it's a powerful point that every election is about the future, never about the past. It's really about the future. And I think the data is going to show, I could be wrong, I'm out on a limb here, I think the data may show us that the issue of the allegations against Cuomo were far less important to them than Mamdani's vision for the future. So we can vote against something or we can vote for something. And my sense is, based on the way these numbers have shown up that I've seen so far, is they were voting for something, and that for was a brighter future, never mind Andrew Cuomo's dark past. Does that make sense at all?
It makes perfect sense, Tavis. I don't disagree with anything you said, and I don't want to. I just want to be clear. I never took the position that the allegations were primary in voters' minds.
Got it.
I was simply making an observation of that as one reason among others. If you ask me, again, I totally agree with you. If you ask me why Mamdani won, he won because of his economic populism. He won because he spoke to, in your words, a vision of the future of New York as a city that if you're below a certain income level, you could still afford to live in New York City. And you don't have to uproot yourself, and you don't have to worry about food insecurity or homelessness, right? Or any of the other problems that exist in very large urban centers in the United States where, frankly, it's just cost prohibitive to live. And so speaking to that message, I mean, it sounds strange, but in some ways, he did the same thing that Trump did in the 2024 election just passed, right? He tapped into that vein of economics and average everyday people trying to live. Now, there's serious questions about whether Trump is following through on any of that. I mean, that's another conversation. But certainly, I'd agree with you that the principal reason that he won the primary, Mamdani, was precisely because he spoke to issues that were important to the average everyday New Yorker, and that the average everyday New Yorker could see themselves. See, because politics, and in particular political rhetoric, is about the production of images that enable people to see themselves in the polity as functional, healthy members of society. And what it comes down to is who is best able to present the image to the people that will enable people to see themselves as part of the world in a functional and healthy way. And I think that's what Mamdani was able to do. I'm doing some research now on the great Frederick Douglass. And one of the things Frederick Douglass was able to do was he changed his view of the Constitution. When he first escaped from slavery, his view was that the Constitution was a pro-slavery document. But through study and over time, his view changed, and he said the Constitution is anti-slavery. And the reason why he changed his view was because if the Constitution was pro-slavery, then black people were forever doomed to live beneath the weight of Dred Scott. But if he could produce an image of the Constitution as something that was egalitarian in nature and anti-slavery, and if he could produce an image of black people as human beings, then the production of those images could lead to a more just world in which black people don't have to withdraw from American political life, but rather are welcome to participate in it. Why? Because the Constitution, as he presented it as an image, applied to black people too. And so that's what politics, I think, is all about. We're talking about the production of images here.
Hold that thought. This is getting good. I told y'all earlier, this is why I love talking to Tim. He's a professor. He's an attorney. He's a legal analyst. He's an author. But he's also a philosopher. And he just brought that philosophy in, as far as I'm concerned. I want to pick up on that point when we come forward, this notion of Frederick Douglass, because I hear a distinct difference, and I ain't mad at Douglass, one of my favorites, one of my heroes. But I hear a distinct difference, Tim, between what was actually on the paper, that is, and what was aspirational in Douglass's mind. I'm drawing a line here between the actual and the aspirational. Let's pick up on that note, and a great deal more to cover. This is going to get good. This is going to get good for the rest of this half hour with Tim Golden on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Black New Jersey Congresswoman LaMonica McIver has pleaded not guilty to federal charges of assaulting ICE agents during a protest-filled visit to a Newark detention center.
But we look forward to the next time in court. We're going to take this all the way through. They know they're wrong, and we're going to prove them wrong because the facts are on our side.
She says the charges are political and vows to fight them. Her trial is set for November 10th. Taylor Toronto, convicted of threatening a government site and illegal gun possession near the Obama's D.C. home, is seeking a new trial. His lawyers argue D.C.'s gun laws are unconstitutional under recent Supreme Court rulings. Sentencing is set for August 26th. And closing arguments begin today in Sean Diddy Combs' federal sex trafficking trial. Prosecutors dropped some charges but are pressing ahead with racketeering and trafficking claims. Combs, who didn't testify, has pleaded not guilty and faces up to life in prison if convicted. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
So the solo car crash in Irvine has turned into a Sigler, 133 South, just as it connects to the 405. That connector roadway is going to be closed for a bit. Stop traffic coming from the 5. Also, it's still a crawl going through Anaheim 5 South right at Brookhurst. Carpool lanes blocked for a car and motorcycle crash. Slow speeds from Auto Center Drive. Then in Roland Heights on the 60 East, the on-ramp to Nogales is going to be partially blocked for a 2-car crash. Watch for some slowing there.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
Both of LA's Major League Baseball teams got a win last night. The Dodgers beat Colorado 8-1. 6 RBIs for third baseman Max Muncy, including a grand slam in the 7th inning. The Dodgers wrap up their 3-game series at Colorado today with a day game. The Angels completed a 3-game sweep over Boston with a 5-2 win. At 40-40, the Angels are at 500 for the first time since May 23rd. The Angels are off today. They're at home Friday night against Washington. The Lakers had no first-round pick last night in the NBA draft. They gave it to New Orleans in 2019 in the trade to get Anthony Davis. The Lakers have the number 55 pick in tonight's second round. The Clippers had the last pick in the first round at number 30. They used it to select Yannick Conan Niederhauser, a 7-foot center from Penn State. Niederhauser grew up in Switzerland. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. Know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580. And we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Whose broad stripes
That was 1991 at the Super Bowl, and people are still talking about Whitney's performance that day. We are celebrating Whitney Houston today as we continue honoring June as Black Music Month. We choose a different artist of the day and play some of the best of their hits. All 3 hours of our conversation today, we are going with Whitney Houston. We played that particular track, one, because it's Whitney and it sounds good, and nobody did it quite like she did it. But the other reason we played it is because Tim Golden and I were just having a conversation about Frederick Douglass. Speaking of this country, speaking of America, we had Ray Charles as our featured artist this week, and I played his version of America, Tim. And so there's a way in which these black people can sing about this country in ways that nobody else can. You can't do it the way Marvin Gaye did it at the NBA All-Star Game, or the way Ray Charles did America, or the way Whitney just did it right now. Something about these black people who have learned to love this country in spite of, not because of. We've learned to love this country in spite of, not because of. And so we were just having a conversation. Tim was leading us down this path, and I'm ready to go there, talking about Frederick Douglass, who at once saw our founding documents as pro-slavery documents, and indeed I think they were and are. But Douglass had a different way of framing it, a different way, as Tim would say, of imaging, of creating an image about the Constitution that would inspire more hope. But my question is whether or not what Douglass was really dealing with was what was actually on the paper or aspirational in his mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think what Frederick Douglass was trying to do was separate the Constitution as a text from, in principle, from the bad actors in practice who were charged with its implementation. So, for instance, you look at Justice Roger B. Taney, who authored the Dred Scott decision. Douglass does not deny Dred Scott. Douglass denies the logic of Dred Scott because for him to say, for Roger B. Taney to author a decision like that just shows you how far off he is from what the Constitution is supposed to be in principle. If I could just get philosophical for 1 second, I won't go too far into it, but in philosophy, there's a field called metaphysics. And in metaphysics, there's a difference between the form of something and its matter. And what Douglass is trying to do is separate the Constitution in its form from the messiness of its matter. So, of course, you have Dred Scott, you have slave laws, you have all manner of injustice being carried on in the name of the Constitution, right? You have senators like in the antebellum South, like John Calhoun, who think that black people belong in chains and so forth, and they think that slavery is constitutionally required. And Douglass does not deny any of those realities. What he says is that those people are misguided. And and you have to remember this too, Tavis. Douglass is dealing with the political rhetoric of William Lloyd Garrison, which, like a lot of well-intended whites, was very long on rhetoric but short on strategy. And what the Garrisonians wanted to do, what they called for, what they demanded, was complete withdrawal from political life, right? They didn't want anybody to vote. They didn't want anybody to partake politically. You couldn't serve on a jury. You couldn't do any of those things, because if you did that, then you were in union with the pro-slavery Constitution. So in a sense, what Douglass said was, we have to isolate the Constitution's principles so that we know what they are, so we can work toward them. And in working toward them, we can eliminate the bad actors in the process. But if we hold on to the logic of Dred Scott, then we're only giving in to political withdrawal, which would make so much of the African-American struggle in the United States completely impossible, right? When you talk about voting, Frederick Douglass's view of the Constitution makes the political and legal struggles that Derek Bell speaks of possible in the first place, right? How can we commit to struggle if the Constitution doesn't apply to us, right? We can commit to isolate it, to separate it from its bad actors, and to condemn the bad actors and say this is what we have to strive for. That's what makes the African American political struggle possible.
I'm glad you mentioned Derek Bell. I have been rereading Faces at the Bottom of the Well recently myself, just rereading that classic text by Derek Bell. But I'm glad you went there because, see, now you got me you got me wrestling now. I can't wait to see what you produce from this research that you're doing about Douglass. Because if I take what you're saying at face value, it almost sounds to me, when you talk about the bad actors and separating the bad actors from the intent of these founding documents, you're letting these founders off the hook. The guys who wrote this verbiage, you're letting them off the hook. And I'm not so sure I'm prepared to do that just yet, Tim Golden.
Well, I don't think Douglas is letting them off the hook, and I don't think that I'm letting them off the hook. What we just talked about, the importance of producing images, right? If there's an abiding belief that there's a white law student who just wrote a paper, and he argued in the paper that the Constitution should only apply to white people. And he won an award. He won a research award for that paper.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, if you think about, imagine if that logic held to be true, right? Then that would mean that anytime you got pulled over by the police, the Fourth Amendment didn't apply to you. That means you would never get an opportunity to serve on a jury and ensure justice for a fellow citizen who happened to be black or Latino, because the Constitution don't apply to you. It would mean that when black people got arrested and charged with a crime, that none of the constitutional safeguards in the Fourth, Fifth, Sixth Amendments applied to them.
It would mean that you and I wouldn't be on radio right now exercising our right to free speech in this conversation.
Exactly. So you can argue, right? This is the brilliance of Douglas and the subtlety of his argument. It's one thing to say that the Constitution is pro-slavery, but it's another thing to point out and ask and interrogate and say, is it the Constitution, or was it certain people who had agendas that went beyond the principles of the Constitution and decided to implement their own racist ideologies and then call that constitutional? See, it's the same way. I think this is probably the best example.
Hold that thought. I want to hear that best example. Don't forget where you are, Tim Golden. I want to hear that best example when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatallzearly.com. That's treatallzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, and professor, philosopher, author, attorney, legal analyst, all-around brilliant brother, Tim Golden. All right, Tim, my time's getting tight. Give me that best example you were teeing up for me.
So the best example I was teeing up for you is that we don't condemn, a lot of black folks don't condemn the Bible because of the Hamitic curse.
Mm-hmm.
We condemn the corrupt, racist, white supremacist misappropriations of the Christian gospel, but we do not condemn the gospel itself. And I think Frederick Douglass did with the Constitution the same thing that he did with the Bible, and that a lot of us do with the Bible, which is separate the principle from the practice. The practice may be corrupt, but we have to produce an image of principles that give us something to strive for.
No, I appreciate that. It's a frame I've never been inside of before, and I'm going to noodle on that or marinate on that or on this, I should say, beyond the conversation today. So you give me something to think about. That I appreciate. But let me pivot, if not so gently, to Donald Trump. And here's why I'm going this direction. Let me tee this up. Looking at my clock right quick here. Let me tee this up. I'll let you respond to it when we come forward. But I was thinking while you were talking a few moments ago about the ways in which, back to your philosophy pedigree, Donald Trump is in some ways playing a Jedi mind trick philosophically on the American people and psychologically on the American people. And what I mean by that is that we're in this moment, and Iran is just the latest example of Donald Trump becoming more and more authoritarian by the day. And I wonder, to your brilliant point earlier about politics being about images and how you present images, whether or not we're getting to a point where Donald Trump is presenting this image so well of him being all-powerful. We just had all these No King's Day protests. But that's what Donald Trump is imaging for us. He's imaging for us that he is a king, that he is a monarch, and we are his subjects. And every single day that he shows up the way he does, again, most recently deciding unilaterally to drop these bunker-busting bombs on Iran, I wonder whether or not that imaging, that Jedi mind trick, takes hold on the demos. Does that make sense, Tim Golden?
It does make sense.
Hold that.
Absolutely.
That's why I make sure it makes sense. As long as it makes sense, I'll let you respond to it when we come forward in our remaining moments with Tim Golden on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-433-8909. 800-433-8909. That's 800-433-8909. Or simply visit godra.com.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed. I've got 4 minutes left. I want to give it all to our brilliant, amazing guest in this hour, professor, philosopher, author, attorney, legal analyst, all-around thinker, noted and brilliant public intellectual, Tim Golden. So I mentioned a moment ago that as we've been talking, I've been thinking about your background in philosophy and the ways in which Donald Trump is sort of playing this Jedi mind trick on us, and your point about imaging, and that's what the goal of politics is. So talk to me about whether or not Donald Trump is imaging for us, his being the king, his being the monarch, we being the subjects, and whether or not that imaging is sticking, and what happens if that image settles in our minds and our hearts. It's all yours, Tim.
Thank you, Tavis. Well, he certainly is producing that image, and the extent to which he is successful will depend on the demos, the people, the masses of the people. It's going to depend first on the level of resistance that institutions, major societal institutions of higher education, theological institutions like churches and religious organizations, the extent to which these organizations capitulate in the face of this image production of Donald Trump is going to determine how successful it is. The first major institution to capitulate, Tavis, I think, has been the Christian church. You had a Christianity that did not want. There were people in 2008 that didn't want to vote for John McCain because he was divorced. Those same people have tolerated much worse with Donald Trump.
You preach it.
And now you have a 34 times convicted felon in the White House, right? There's something. See, white supremacy has led this Constantinian version of Christianity. If I could quote Dr. West,
come on,
this Constantinian version of Christianity, which is only about power anyway, has caused much of Christianity to bow its knee to Baal, so to speak, and to capitulate. We're now seeing major Ivy League institutions, institutions of higher education, Harvard, Columbia, etc. Now, Harvard is willing to come to the table and settle with the president. What does that mean, right? What are we doing to institutions like that? And, you know, we just passed, Tavis, the 61st anniversary of the Freedom Riders murders, Cheney, Schwerner, and Goodman.
That's right.
And it's one thing for the nation to stand up to the likes of George Wallace and Bull Connor. It's another thing for the nation to stand up to its own president. See, that's the difference of the Trump moment. The Trump moment is that this is not a governor in the South that is you know, going off the rails. This is the president of the United States that is going off the rails. And we're in a moment that calls for a level of prophetic courage and condemnation like we have never seen, because we've never seen this kind of troubling imagery before.
I'm out of time.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm out of time.
Okay.
And as we said in the black church, he's humming up. He's tuning up. All we need behind you right now is a Hammond B3. If I had a Hammond B3, I'd be playing it right behind you right now, Reverend Dr. Tim Golden, because he's right. When you think about it, and nobody's ever said that to me in the last 6 months since Donald Trump's been in the White House. We've been talking about academic institutions bending the knee, law firms bending the knee, the media bending the knee, but only Tim Golden brings it home. The Christian church, the white Christians, the evangelicals bent the knee first. And that's a powerful point. I'm holding on to it the rest of the day. Tim Golden, I love you. There ain't nothing you can do about it, sir. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tavis. Love you, too. I appreciate you having me on.
My great joy. From one brilliant thinker to another. In our next hour, Leonard Pitts Jr., Tavis Smiley Show is on fire today.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Black New Jersey Congresswoman LaMonica McIver has pleaded not guilty to federal charges of assaulting ICE agents during a protest-filled visit to a Newark detention center.
But we look forward to the next time in court. We're going to take this all the way through. They know they're wrong, and we're going to prove them wrong because the facts are on our side.
She says the charges are political and vows to fight them. Her trial is set for November 10th. Taylor Toronto, convicted of threatening a government site and illegal gun possession near the Obama's D.C. home,